Hi everyone. I am Aisha Shaibu Salami, and I'm honored to welcome you all to today's webinar titled Building a More Respectable and Equitable Digital World. On behalf of all the Inclusive Naming Initiative team, thank you all for taking our time to join us. Whether you're joining from a tech background or you're simply just passionate about inclusion, your presence here matters. So today, our conversation is going to be about the power of words. But before we move on, I'd like to give a few housekeeping rules. First, this session is being recorded. Secondly, you can use the chat box, drop your questions, whatever it is you want to say. We'd love to hear from you. We're going to have a Q&A.
Yeah,
Be respectable as possible. And we can go to our social media platforms, tweets, post whatever it is you want to post with the hashtag inclusive.
Yeah, I think we are having a little issue with Aisha's network. I think the main message she was trying to pass is let's be respectful. Okay. Yeah, we lost you a bit there, Aisha. I believe what she was trying to say is that we should try as much as possible to be respectful to each other in the chat. And yeah, basically respect. This is an inclusive organization, and we would love for us all to be respectful to each other. Now, and the conversation about this event can still continue even after this webinar on LinkedIn or on Blue Sky. We'll share more information on how you can participate later during the event. If you have any questions, our chats are open for you. Now, let me share my screen and get started. While we are starting, let me share my screen. Yep, share screen. Let's see this one and share. Awesome. In this session, I'll be introducing us to the Inclusive Naming Initiative. Yeah, the word inclusivity is something that we all need all over the globe, especially with the complicated political situation that we have in the world. And the Inclusive Naming Initiative serves as an organization that is helping to provide the necessary guidelines and resources for us to build a more inclusive environment, especially in the technology industry. Now, first, what is the initiative about? The initiative is mainly a group of open source contributors who originated from the Kubernetes project under the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. And I believe there's a Kubernetes naming working group. And during the Black Lives Matter event in the United States, I decided one of the things that we need to do for ourselves as technologists is to make the technology space more welcoming. And one of the ways we can do that by ensuring the choices we are making in terms of the names that we use for our different products and services, and also how we name things within technology is inclusive. Now, and the big thing about this is not just telling people that you should change your language, but advocate for problematic terms to be replaced. And not just replacing them, but ensuring there's precision in the choices of words that we're using without any ambiguity or without any hidden meanings to the words. Especially, this is particularly beneficial to individuals who use English as a secondary or tertiary language. Yeah, I think most people in Europe, Africa, most likely Asia can speak. They can have probably English is like their third or fourth language, aside from other languages that I've spoken. So INI, one of the targets of INI is to encourage the use of direct technical meanings of terms over things like metaphors or colloquialism that can be ambiguous or culturally specific. Yeah, that is, a word that has been used requires you to have some heavy contextual knowledge for you to understand what is being meant. Now, the work of INI addresses this systemic issue within technology and the unintentional perpetuation of exclusionary and confusing languages that stem from historical norms, especially from the dominant population in technology, or a lack of diverse perspectives in terms of the formative stages of many technologies. A lot of technology starts from a particular region of the world or from certain countries. So a lot of the times, the naming, the context, and a lot of decisions that will be taken with those technology will be around things that are unique or known to those environments. So with globalization, we now have a situation where those technology have traveled to other cultures, other countries, but carrying along those language that have been used and are specific to those specific regions. Now, like part of what I've said, technology has permeated into nearly every facet of our lives. There's hardly anything we are using that doesn't have some form of software or technology in them. And these are not just things running on their own. They require software, they require documentation, they require branding. And all of these things have significant influence in how we communicate and how we interact with each other. And this highlights that language used in technology is not usually neutral and actively contributes to the way our cultures are shaped and our thought processes. Yeah, I speak, for example, I speak 3 to 4 languages, but sometimes I think in English. And we all know the language in which you express yourself changes, even the way you behave, the way your choice of words, and how you interact with people. So language is extremely important. Now, why the inclusive naming initiative? Because non-inclusive language limits engagement and collaboration. Words and phrases carry unintended negative meanings sometimes, or negative secondary meanings that can be confusing. They might be negative, they might be positive, but they can bring in confusion. And whenever this occurs, they act as barriers that discourage people from fully participating in projects. Okay, when you require heavy contextual knowledge or when you require some cultural nuances for you to understand certain things, it adds to the barrier for you to enjoy or take advantage of that technology. And this contravenes from the goal of we having a technology space where everybody can be involved and can invest, especially in open source. Open source is supposed to welcome everybody and everyone should be able to contribute. But when language limits, collaboration is limited and engagement. And the usage of language most times usually signals, especially when they are not inclusive, they usually signal to other people that they are not welcome because you have to use our language. Yeah, we are a global community and we are promoting globalization, but our choice of languages can most times signal to people that you have to be one of us before you'll be able to contribute, which is non-inclusive. Also, unlike newspeak is one of the things that a lot of people have also gotten used to. And one of the things with newspeak, we all listen to media, we all listen to news. And if you've actually sat down to listen to how news is constructed, they have an aim, they have a goal, they have a way that they want you to think. And they want to constrict your thought into a particular pattern, either to suit some regime or to suit some narrative. And a lot of times our use of language and technology also follow the same pattern. At the end of the day, excluding certain people. Inclusive naming aims to champion the use of more precise and accurate words. Now, how do we do this? One of the ways we do this is by creating the Inclusive Naming Initiative word list. This word list will contain terms that are recommended to organizations or projects to either replace within their documentation, or they should strongly, either they replace it, we recommend that they should replace it, or yeah, they should consider maybe it's not necessarily too bad, but that they should still consider using better terms. So this, and they are listed in tiers: tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1 terms have been identified to be problematic, and sometimes they cause significant harm and carry highly problematic connotations. Things like master slave, things like whitelist, blacklist. Whitelist meaning things white, yeah, are okay, things black are not okay, and so on. Tier 2 are terms that have negative connotations, but they are not as bad as tier 1, but they have negative connotation, or sometimes there's lack of clarity or inclusivity in how when the terms are used in technology or in our documentation. Then tier 3 are not necessarily harmful, but where there are better options or something that are more neutral, it's better for us to use them, to use the alternatives. Or sometimes when we can have terms that are more precise and clearly tells us what is meant, we should stick to those. Now, how do we do this? We use the language evaluation framework, and this framework helps us to, okay, how do we identify a word to either put tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? We ask ourselves certain key questions. Does the term refer to a group of people in the context outside of technology? Is the term potentially disparaging to others in certain contexts? And in the discussion of the term, our opinions usually strongly split that it becomes harmful, then it's most likely tier 1, things like abort, master, whitelist. Now, for tier 2, we ask things like, does it have militaristic connotations? Does the term or phrase historically used in the context that certain people can easily see themselves? Now, is the term classist? That means it ranks people in different ways, especially negatively. And is the term strongly associated with a particular gender? Then most likely tier 2, for example, like sanity check. It has some connotations. Now for tier 3, is the term, they might not be bad, but is the term the use of a metaphor or simile or other literary devices to communicate a point, especially in cases where you say a word, but they can have deeper meanings that is only if you have a deeper understanding of the language that you will understand what the person is saying or what is being referred to. And also is understanding the term dependent on you belonging to specific culture or in a group? And does the term have human-like qualities that are being ascribed to technology? So those are the framework that we use to evaluate, okay, which term should fall under which tier. Now, examples of tier 3 are things like totem pole, hallucinate, segregate. For example, I believe many of totem pole it's usually a phrase that is used to describe someone, it's used in a phrase to describe someone who is probably dull or not being performant as necessary. They're like, he's down the totem pole. I've forgotten the phrase that was used, but it has some certain meaning that can be derogatory to certain people. Now, how can you be a part of it, and how do we work? The innate community works asynchronously, meaning that we don't do a lot of meetings because we are scattered all over the globe. We have members from London, New York, and so on. And everyone, I think we even have some members that are in Sydney. They are probably asleep now around 4 a.m., 3 or 4 a.m. in their time zone. So we work as an asynchronous community where everyone can join at any time and be able to contribute to this work that we're doing. We meet every last Thursday of the month for the monthly contributor sync, where we catch up on some of the activities that we've done. And also, plan for some other asynchronous work that we'll do together. Now, we are always looking for more members of our community, either as reviewers and maintainers. How do we get terms? We have a public forum where people can suggest terms that, oh, I think this term should be considered for a review, and I'm suggesting maybe tier 1 or tier 2. Now, once people suggest that, we have our reviewers who are going to look at and assess. Then our maintainers are those that publish the terms on our website. Thank you very much. That's a short description of how INI works and the work we do. If you want to learn more, you can visit the inclusivenaming.org website and /participate to join the community. If there's any question, I'll be happy to answer them in chat. Do we have any question? Where is my Zoom window always travel away? Hello, thank you for sharing. Yeah, yes, we'll share the slide later. Someone asked in chat, we'll share the slide later via email along with the video of this session. Awesome. Yeah, happy to answer any other questions. But before we move to the next segment, let's learn about all of you and different communities that we are part of. We'll be using Slido. Let me start the Slido. You can join by visiting slido.com either on your phone or on your system and enter this code 3576 and 359. Yeah, and our first questions while waiting for you all to join, our first question is, what is food in your local language? Yeah, looking forward to learning some new words today. I speak Hausa, I speak Yoruba. Onje is food in Yoruba, Nigeria, southwest Nigeria. Northern Nigeria, Hausa is Abinchi. And I'm resident in Rotterdam, Netherlands. So I believe it's eaten or something like that. Yeah. I don't see anyone join yet. Can you see my screen? Yeah, one person has joined participating, Comida. I think it is most likely Portuguese, if I'm correct. Oh, Norwegian math. Wow, that's nice. Okay. I know a bit of Arabic from school. I think it's the arm. Yeah, something like or the arm, something like that. The pronunciation sometimes can be off. Or some I'll give like a few more minutes. Okay, we have Abunchi, Yamdu. Which language? Yamdu, that's nice. Komida, Onje is Yoruba, Mat, Norwegian. Okay, let's move to the next question. Yep. Let me move to, okay, how do you, okay. What is the word for country in your language? I know Yoruba is Orílẹ̀-èdè. Yes. Yeah. Orílẹ̀-èdè. Land. Ah. Which language land? I know Dutch can be, I've forgotten how it's spelled in Dutch. Pais, wow. Kasa, House. Kasa is Hausa. Originally, Kosa, or is this? Okay, land is Norwegian. Oh, nice. But I think Dutch too somehow, Lelyland and something like that. I've forgotten. Maybe there's a form of it that is also used in the Netherlands, but that's nice. I think most European languages have some form of words that they borrow from each other. Awesome. Ard. I think this is Arabic. Ard. Okay, let's go to the next slide. What's the word for technology in your local language? I don't know what technology is in Yoruba. I don't know. Kimiya. I think that's been like Hausa. Kimiya. Technology. Since K is there, it's most likely Norwegian. Because I know most European countries use K for technology. Technologia. Yeah, that's most likely Arabic. With the G, I gives it away. Yeah, let's give it to Ẹ̀rọ ìgbàlódé. Yeah, Peter, he added it in chat. That is actually correct. Ẹ̀rọ ìgbàlódé. That's nice. Awesome. Yeah. That was fun. So I'll hand it over to Aisha for her presentation. Let me stop sharing so she can share her screen. The sun is setting here, so I'm having some reflection of the sun. Aisha?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just trying to share my screen.
Okay, awesome. So at the end, thank you very much, everyone, for joining. At the end of this session, we will send the slides and the recording to everyone that has signed up. Yeah, over to you, Aisha.
Okay. So thank you all so much for that wonderful session. I believe that a lot of us here have jotted down one or two things that we can take back and reflect on. And I'm also sure that some of us now know words in other languages. So we'll be moving on to the next speaker, which is me. I'm going to be reintroducing myself for the sake of those of us that are just joining. My name is Aisha Shaibu Salami, and I'm a growth marketer, as well as the content lead for the Inclusive Naming Initiative. And I'm so honored to be speaking here today on the topic embracing cultural diversity in tech through language, because it is one topic that I feel like needs to be talked about. And when we speak about cultural diversity, we're talking about things that makes us different. It could be our culture, our food, our language, our music. It could be, anything like that. And according to history, we have over 7,000 distinct languages in the world. And these languages are tied to their community's way of viewing the world. And oftentimes when products are being built, when tech products are being built or are being produced, they are made to assume a particular language, a particular way of responding, which I feel isn't quite nice. I believe that if we embrace other languages, if we explore diverse cultural viewpoints, I believe that we would build tech points that are relatable and that are, accessible and also inclusive. So now, understanding cultural diversity. Language is the heartbeat of culture. It is how stories are being told, or how stories are being passed down, how communities are built. And by excluding other languages, we're excluding how people view the world. So imagine a Fulani woman from northern Nigeria trying to use a health app that is only available in maybe French or English. It would feel foreign to her. And what happens next? Discernment, distrust, exclusion, right? So whereas if that app was built in a language she understands or in a language that she's familiar with, she would not only use it, she would connect with it. So I feel like language either invites people or tells us or tells them this isn't for you. So what happens when cultural diversity is ignored? Products fail to resonate with local communities, users feel alienated. We perpetrate digital colonialism where only one way of thinking dominates all. And then several groups are left out of innovation. So imagine a financial literacy app being used, in a rural community. This app explains budgeting using
I think we lost Aisha a bit there, most likely internet. Aisha, are you back? Aisha, can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we
Okay,
can hear you
sorry,
now.
my network, yeah,
No
came out.
worries.
Yeah. So imagine, let me just start over again. So imagine a financial literacy app, being used in a rural community, an app that probably explains budgeting using terms like maybe credit score or mortgage. And even though most of these apps have, translations where you could easily just switch to other languages, the concept doesn't reflect the local financial realities. So many people in that community, probably deal with daily cash transactions, savings in cooperatives, or maybe contributions in informal informal thrifts, yes, like the Yoruba people call maybe Ajo, or the Hausa people in northern Nigeria call Adashi. So while this language is localized, the context isn't. So as a result, the users might struggle to connect with the content. The solution becomes, ineffective. So that is what happens when diversity is treated as an afterthought instead of a foundation. So to truly embrace cultural diversity, I believe we must go beyond words and consider what feels, familiar to the users, sorry. So how do we change this? First, we need to prioritize cultural intelligence. Before building a tech product, understand the cultural context of your user, know how they learn, and what symbols matter to them. Involve cultural voices from the start. We can always hire local linguists, community leaders, diverse product testers, build with them, not just for them. Then I also believe we can use the inclusive naming practices, avoid terms rooted in oppression or exclusion, like master slave that is being used in coding. We can use languages that reflect user dignity. And then I also believe we can celebrate multilingualism, create apps, websites, and platforms in multiple languages, especially indigenous ones. So don't just translate, localize, make you feel like it was born in that culture. So I also believe we can teach tech in local languages, when we teach coding or digital literacy in Swahili, Igbo, German, or even Spanish. I believe, would empower more people to create solutions for their communities. So what is my vision for the future? Well, I dream of a tech world where maybe a boy from Ghana or a girl from Senegal or a young man from Spain all feel like they belong in this digital age, not just as users, but also as creators. So in conclusion, um, let's go beyond inclusive naming. Let's use language as a tool, of justice. Let's treat cultural diversity as a strength, not just a challenge. Let's design technology that doesn't erase identities, but amplifies them, because the future of tech shouldn't be built, or the future of tech should be built in every language and reflect every culture that serves every human. Thank you very much.
Awesome. That's a very wonderful presentation. And the chat was also chiming in on the conversation, adding more value and context. If you've not been checking the chat, you should. I think
Okay.
there's a lot of very nice conversation happening in the chat. Yeah,
Mhm.
awesome. Um, Yeah, okay. Lucas is saying, I think it's also important that English is not the same as English. There are different variations. Exactly. There are
Yeah.
different variations of English around the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Even via the choice of words, that's a very good one, Lucas. Even via the choice of words, you can easily maybe you can guess, this person is most likely American, this person is Dutch, this person is British, or this person is Nigerian. From the not even accent, but choice of words. Yeah.
Mm.
Awesome. And Karima is saying, I need clarity on the INI word list. If after all, that's why the evaluation framework is answered in order, and any kind of an app that can be infused in every product. That's a very good one. Let me share my screen. Aisha, if you can stop sharing,
Okay.
I will just show everyone around the inclusive naming website. Thank you for asking, Karima. Uh, inclusivenaming.org, share screen. Awesome. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, the compulsory question we have to ask in every stream. Can you see my screen? So this is the inclusive naming website. You can see wonderful articles from Aisha. And yeah, we have our award lists here. And if you go to the overview, you'll be able to see more information about the tier one, tier two, tier three, and the terms here. Now, we currently have a JSON file if you want to consume it via API in your app where you can pull all the terms and be able to use it to make any decisions within your application. But we currently have efforts ongoing to make the API more robust and versioned and make it easily consumable, because this is just a JSON file that is generated. There's no dynamism or anything behind it. It's just a JSON file. So, but we can make it better for applications to consume. Now, we can see here different terms. For example, if you click on abort, you will get things like, okay, what's the definition? What are related terms? What are recommended replacements? What is an unsuitable replacement? What is the rationale behind the suggestion of abort? There's this one I was talking about the other time, totem pole. Here is this is the totem pole. These are related. It's recommended to replace it, and there are no actual recommended replacement because sometimes some words don't have direct replacement, but it's just not to use that term. You can maybe just clearly state in simple English what you mean by saying, for example, someone is at the bottom of the totem pole, for example. Uh, are there more? Okay, I see the chat is buzzing. Let me see what other questions are there. Yeah, okay. Lucas is also saying I might have something here. I might soon be able to release browser extension and word adding. Yeah, I think the initiative is building a resource where anyone can take the work we are doing. We are focusing on, oh, let's help the community have that resource, those terms. Then anyone can then consume either via CI/CD or via an API or via whatever form to consume our work. But we are also working on making it easy for those who want to build those tools, because let's say you take everything here and you just bake it into your application. What if there are new terms? But if there's a functional API that you can easily consume, you are able to get more up-to-date terms with current information. Yeah, that's very good collaboration, everyone. And you can, for you to participate, you can, if you come to a website, you can go and participate. There are information about our call for participation where you fill a Google form and we'll add you to the necessary contributor groups that we have. You can follow our Google group to receive mailing list. To join our mailing list, you can get more latest information. We also have our calendar where you can see events and activities like this one that we are hosting. Now, you can follow up updates on our LinkedIn. We have LinkedIn and Twitter and Blue Sky account for the latest updates. We also have, you can also visit the Inclusive Naming GitHub repositories, and we have the website repository also for you to be a part of the community. Yeah. Over to you, Aisha.
Okay. Thank you all so much for the engaging questions and the insightful contribution. Today's conversation, reminds us of something powerful, that technology is not just about coding or features, it's about people. And people are shaped by their culture, their language, their experiences. So when we ignore other languages, we silence voices. But when we embrace them, we expand possibilities for learning, for connection, or innovation that truly serves everyone. So let's continue to build a tech world where every language is heard, every culture is respected, and no one is left behind. We have now come to the end of the webinar. Thank you all once again for joining us. I believe in a future where tech speaks to everyone in their language and with their cultural understanding at its core. Thank you all so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you, Han, for the message you just posted. I think this is wonderful. Awesome.